Hello folks, it has been a while since I've talked about Raid Shadow Legends. I am happy to be back. Just been taking a bit of a break from content creation, at least long form content like this, a lot of shorts and stuff like that going up on my channel. Trying to upload every Thursday at least. We'll see how that goes, right? So what I want to do today is something that really grinds my gears in Raid Shadow Legends I want to discuss, and that is when content creators talk about these fusions or the champions that are part of fusions or those sorts of things, and they rate it from a free-to-play perspective. Meanwhile, they're spending the average amount somebody would spend on a house in Raid Shadow Legends just on shard openings, right? So I want to go through this here. I want to talk about the fusion from a low spend / free-to-play perspective. I have not spent in this game in about 6 months now at this point, I would think. Before that, I only spent about $500 in total over about 3 years of playing it. So I'm going to go through all of these champions here, all of the ones a part of the fusion, as well as the fusion himself, and just tell you what I think from a low spend perspective. To give you some idea, I don't really have resources stockpiled. I'm kind of just your average player going through the game, just enjoying things, right? So, you know, hopefully this will be useful for somebody out there. A couple things I want to cover real quick just before we hop in. I seen this post on Facebook that actually kind of made me giggle a little bit. So what it was is it took Sun Wukong and it said that his celebrity lookalike was William Dafoe. and I kind of laughed at that. I wanted to hear what your guys' thoughts were. I can definitely see it now that it was pointed out. They did a side-by-side with the photos there, but I found that pretty funny. What celebrity lookalikes do you think are in Raid? What champions do you think look like a real-life celebrity, right? I'd be very interested to see what you think down below. Additionally, the other thing I want to call out, two things actually. So first of all, I do have a Patreon. There is going to be a link down in the description, as well as I am doing coaching for Raid Shadow Legends, so feel free to hop in my Discord and reach out to me if you'd be interested in coaching, just to see how you can progress your account. Really specialized in the areas of arena, clan boss, those sorts of things, but I can help with general content as well. Hydra is not so much my thing, but pretty much everything else apart from that I can help out with. So, without further ado, let's hop into taking a look at the fusion. We're going to go ahead and start off here with Meat Carver Tulog. I want to say his skin looks very, very, very cool, especially for a rare in the game. I'm not going to go over, you know, the skills too much or anything like that. He's hitting an enemy a couple of times, heals himself a little bit. He's placing increased defense and a continuous heal. And he can revive, actually, too, with a continuous heal. Very low HP and very low turn meter. Single target revive on a 4-turn cooldown. It's not the best. His passive, though, basically whenever a continuous heal pops off, it gets replaced by another smaller one. So he's always just replacing the continuous heals on here, which is pretty cool. Overall, I would say this champion is pretty decent. The Skinwalkers definitely for a while were a very weak faction when it came to faction wars. I don't think you'll get a whole lot of utility out of this guy. I do think there are some better options even inside that faction, if I recall correctly, especially now that we have a login champion like Sun Wukong. We had Uko as a fusion before. Epics, we have some really good champions like Hoforhe's here. We got Basher just locking people out. In terms of rare supports, though, I suppose we don't really have anyone besides Bloodhorn doing it, and he certainly doesn't revive. So, I mean, you know, very early game, I'm sure you could get some use out of him, but he will be replaced pretty quickly, so I wouldn't spend too much resources on him. Definitely one of the coolest looking champions we've had in quite some time. This is Longsword Turux, however you want to say his name. He's placing a leech on the A1. He's an AoE placing a provoke on a decent land rate, as well as an increased defense, and then he counterattacks whenever he's hit under a provoke, and he places a block damage on himself too if he's going to take a big hit. So pretty decent champion doing damage based on defense. I haven't looked at the multipliers on this guy yet. I do think you could actually get some late game viability out of this guy because you're placing the leech debuff on the A1 and then the provoke CC and counterattack with leech on the A1. That is definitely a very, very good combo. I do think this guy is a little bit more late game proof than some of the other champions on here. The other ones I have to go over here. So we're going to have Selenia. Pretty cool looking champion here. A1 is attacking one enemy. She heals herself a little bit. She has an AoE, increase the duration of HP burn, and then she has a 3-time at random HP burn. Not even on that good of a chance, only a 75% chance. It boosts her own turn meter by 5% though. Overall, this champion looks amazing, right? and she's got a pretty cool name, but her kit is just super disappointing. Like, it would be very OP to have an AoE HP burn on a rare, I think, even though it is a void rare, but this champion, you're definitely gonna not get too much late game viability out of her. Even mid game, I would say she's gonna be fairly outclassed, considering we just had Artak as a daily login who does literally everything she does, but better. Definitely not a champion you want to be building out or keeping from this fusion. And then the last of the rares is going to be Petrifia Rockroot. So this champion, she's going to attack an enemy 2 times. She's placing the decreased defense as well as a poison sensitivity. Or not a poison sensitivity, sorry. If it's under a poison sensitivity, it's a big version of decreased defense. She attacks everybody twice, decrease attack, and a poison. And then she attacks 3 times at random, and then she's placing a poison sensitivity, or if they all hit the same enemy, places a poison debuff for 2 turns. I'm not a fan of this because it's on a 4-turn cooldown. She's attacking 3 times at random, so let's say you have her in Clan Boss, right? So she could very much be like a frozen banshee from wish.com, but the problem with this is she's only placing 5% poison on a 4-turn cooldown for 2 turns. It's just not that good. Just bring Frozen Banshee. You're going to have a far better experience every single time. The reviews seem to think she's pretty okay. I would definitely disagree with that, though. But, I mean, hey, it is what it is. Next up, we're going to move on to the epics here. So we got Pan the Bowhorn. Pretty cool-looking champion here. Not really my aesthetic, but he has a chance of placing a freeze. This is a 50% chance on each hit, so this is huge. For Fire Knight Hard, right? Like, this will be a very good entry-level champion for a lot of people in Fire Knight Hard. He's also placing an increased attack and an increased speed on himself for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, which is pretty cool. And then he's ignoring defense, hitting people a bunch of times, all that sort of good stuff. Depending on how you use this guy, he could have some viability. I might build him out at some point for Fire Knight Hard. I think that's where you'll get some use out of him. If you're using him for just general nuking and that sort of thing, I don't think you're really going to have the best experience with him. He's probably going to be outclassed very quickly by some other champions in the game, possibly even someone like a Kale or an Elhain. And then last up, we do have, I want to say, from the Undead Hordes. No, where is he? There's one more here. Who are we dealing with? I forgot what faction he's in, though. He might be Demon Spawn as well, although I doubt it. What is this guy? I can't even... let me find him in my... Let me find him in here. I forgot his name, and I forgot what faction he's in. Come on, scroll through all these champions. He's in here somewhere. Oh, no. Here he is, right there. Malekith Bloodflock from the Knights Revenant. So... this guy's interesting. Attacks one enemy, has a 70% chance of stealing a buff. He attacks everybody, decreases the duration of their buffs by 1 turn, and increases the duration of yours by 1 turn. Kind of an okay skill, I guess. And then his A3 revives 2 random allies with 30% HP and 30% turn meter. Another very weak sauce revive. The rare that we looked at was the exact same as this guy in that regard, right? He places a shield on everybody equal to 30% of his HP, though. Overall, just kind of a meh champion. Keep in mind, at Knights Revenant, you have Rector Drath, who is going to be far more useful in this guy. I would say this guy, take him maybe to 50. Very early game reviver support champion. You can always use him as a chicken after that if you don't get the fusion. Finally, we're going to move on to the fusion himself, which is Bambus 4-Leaf. At least I think it's a him. I don't know. I think so. So A1, attacks 1 enemy, decreased speed. He's also placing a sleep on himself, which is a bit weird. AoE, before attacking, places a shield on everybody equal to their max HP, which is definitely the weaker version. You want it to be his max HP. Increasing the duration of buffs on everybody. Decreases the duration of buffs on everybody on the enemy team, even if the attack lands as a weak hit, which is pretty cool. And he's increasing the value of shield buffs on all allies by 2% for each enemy buff that has duration decreased by this skill, which is pretty cool. Then he's placing a sleep on himself that cannot be resisted or blocked. Then he targets an enemy, places an increase accuracy and increase attack on everybody. Then he has a 100% chance when booked of placing the Enfeeble, which I believe means that you can't inflict critical hits. It cannot be placed on bosses, though. And he also has a 100% chance of placing the decrease accuracy debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and then he sleeps himself yet again. He has a 50% chance of transferring any debuffs placed on an ally to this champion while they're under a sleep. It doesn't transfer other CC debuffs, though. At the start of his turn, he does remove any sleep debuffs from this champion. So, you know, he transfers all debuffs from himself to the enemy with the highest resistance. If a sleep debuff was removed from this champion by his passive skill, this effect cannot be resisted. So, overall, you could get some utility out of him. I'm very disappointed with this fusion, to be honest. If this said it cannot be blocked or resisted, you get a lot more use out of it, because if you think about somebody like a Duchess or a Pythion or a Sifi or any sort of hard you know, defensive champion that you're going to want to be, or any defensive team for that matter, that you're going to want to be getting utility out of this guy, you could use him in Arena, right? So think about Arena. They're all going to have block debuffs up. They're all going to have cleansers. They're all going to have all that sort of good stuff, right? So you're just transferring decreased defense, for example, which means he's going to be weak against polymorph champions, as well as, you know, champions with block debuffs. So definitely kind of disappointing in my opinion. The aura isn't even that good. Base stats are okay, of course. Let's go take a look at him. Once he's fully ascended, since that could change. 110 base speed is pretty decent. Overall, though, I don't know. I'm gonna try for this fusion, because, again, it's a free legendary champion, essentially, that you can get. I already pulled some shards and got one of the epics, and, you know, gonna build them out. My plan, though, if I can't get him, is I actually am gonna end up keeping some of these rares, because I do want to use some of them, especially Mr. Longsword here. And then maybe going for one of these champions. Definitely going to be this guy of the two, though, but I'm not going to be too bummed out if I don't get the main fusion. Let me know down below what you guys think of him, though. I would definitely like to hear all your thoughts, and I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching the video. I'll see you next time.